Okay, here's the thing that I've spent 30 years wrapping my brain around, and I'm finally getting there. And it's the difference between work, hard work, putting in effort and getting return for that effort where it matters, and expecting things without putting in effort. And I guess how that plays a role in manifesting and creating the reality you want around you. For years, with my, previous work experience and struggling to hold jobs in, the real world, I became afraid of hard work because I associated hard work with panic attacks. I associated hard work with burnout and mental breakdowns, and I associated it with things that I didn't like, things that didn't fuel my soul, things that made me depressed, really, at the end of the day, because that's what every day job I've ever had has felt like. It has felt like hard work, it has felt like exhaustion, and in creating a business for myself, or the failed attempts in the past, I would want to put that hard work in, and I would put it in to the point of burnout because that's what I thought I had to do, right? That's what society teaches you have to do. You're not hustling if you're not hustling hard enough, working so many hours that you can't, there's no time for anything. And as somebody who's trying to build a life for myself where I have the time to take things slow, I have the time to take a random Thursday and go drive an hour and a half to see a drag racing competition because it's something that my partner enjoys, and I thought it would be a fun surprise, right? And so that is the life I'm building. I'm building a life built around taking things slow, doing things when they're in alignment. Now, does that mean there isn't going to be work? No, there's going to be work, and there's going to be a lot of effort. But I think the difference here is that while the same amount of effort might be applied, it doesn't feel hard. And I keep seeing so many people, and people I love, people I admire as well as others who I'm not aligned with, talking about, don't be afraid of hard work. And it's like this mental block that I'm like, no, I can't call it hard work, otherwise it's not going to work and I'm going to have a mental breakdown. And so it's been this process of me just trying to move through that. And realistically, I think I'm going to come up with another word that I just enjoy more. But either way, I'm still putting in the work and effort on those things that I'm enjoying. The other difference is now when I'm applying effort, when I'm doing hard work, it doesn't feel hard because it's doing the things that I'm enjoying, right? What's that saying? Find a way to make money doing what you love, and you will never work another day in your life. Again, also not true. There are still parts to this creation process and building my business, building an audience, building a community of people who feel similar to me, share similar values, want that similar way of living where you can take things slow, where you can, just take days to relax and work a few hours as it suits your needs, finding that work-life balance, which really, for me personally and what I want and my goals really means only doing a small amount of hard work, hard office-y kind of things every week kind of thing. That's the kind of thing I would like to build. But in doing that, I have to learn myself. I have to learn those patterns. I have to learn the things that are actually working for me. And so to do that, I have to take things slow. I have to slow down. I have to process. I have to pay attention to me and my emotions and how I feel when I'm doing different things. The last few months specifically, I have learned that I had this 3 or 4 day period, because it's, it was about almost a month ago, where I had this huge burst of energy where I was pumping out so much content and creating so many videos and doing these things. And, I felt a bit more able to do the computer work and the things that, the rest of the month I'm drained on. And so I've only discovered this in the last 2 months, few months kind of thing. And I'm still figuring out where these rhythms go, but in taking the time to accept myself as I am, and taking the time to say, hey, if you don't have the energy to do these things, that's okay. You don't have to today. And in allowing myself to breathe without that pressure, it makes it easier to come back to it when I do have the energy. I'm not sitting there beating myself up over what I'm not doing, right? That's something I see for a lot of people. That's something I have seen many, many times with myself and loved ones. It's that it can honestly just be such a vicious, vicious cycle of working hard until you can't work. And then instead of resting when your body says you need rest, your time is spent resting. But instead, what you're actually doing is beating yourself up over not being productive, or mentally saying, oh, I should be doing this, and I'm not doing this, and this is what I need to be doing, this is what I should be doing, otherwise I'm a failure, otherwise I'm not going to succeed, otherwise those goals and those big ambitions I have, they're not going to come to me. But instead, if you take those moments and you pause and you take the rest you need to, when you come back, you're going to have so much energy. And I know this is so much easier said than done. It took me years to truly actually do this. And for the longest time, it was because I was in denial that I needed to do this, right? This hustle culture of, don't worry about it, you can push through, just do a little bit more. Oh, you can't do, the huge task list. Well, okay, do a small task list, but it's still going to be an hour of work. And if you can't do that, you're a failure. But that is not the way to success. I just finished a really good book that I really loved called The Having. And, one of the things it talks about is, when you're approaching life in the world from this point of, I already have this, like, look at this, like, I have this glass full of water and it is amazing, and just appreciating the little things you have everywhere. Those opportunities for having income comes in, and you might not understand why or how or where, but it does. Those opportunities rise just from being in that existence of having, because the reality around you is matching the reality that you're pushing out, the energy that you're exuding. And again, that doesn't mean there's not going to be work involved, but work doesn't mean hard work. Doing things, like exuding effort, putting in effort into something you love, doesn't have to be what you equate with hard work. And if it is hard work, then that's your body telling you that something isn't right, something is not working. If it feels like you're about to have a panic attack, or it's so stressful and your mind is so noisy, try taking a step back and saying, okay, this isn't working. Let's see if I can shift gear a little, or if I can take even just 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute to breathe. Maybe do, a little bit of tapping, processing. Go outside, hug a tree, put your feet in the dirt. You know what I mean? Just take a moment and ask your higher self, okay, this clearly isn't working. Please help show me what I should be doing, or give me an understanding of what's going wrong here, or let this be easy. Try approaching it at a different angle. You know what I mean? There's always different options, always different solutions. And maybe the thing is that you want to be posting videos, right? That's what I've tried to do for many years, on and off. It's what I've been trying, to grow, to increase, to improve myself as well through this. But the ways I was doing it 3 months ago didn't work because it wasn't authentic to me. It wasn't who I am and how I feel and how I show up in a world that is, in a way that is natural to myself. I recently have been listening to the Jamie C podcast. I joined her online community, the Broadcast Room. I'll drop a link down below. And just the ways that she gives permission for you to show up as your authentic self, who you are and who you want to be, like, it's been a game changer. And it's allowed me to take a step back and say, hey, I don't have to plan out all these little strategy things. I can just show up in a way, turn on a camera that feels natural to me. And, you know, it's not going to work for everybody. This isn't the kind of content that helps everybody, but it helps some people. It's the kind of content that helps me. And that's what I want to do. I want to find my people. I want to find my community. And I can't do that if I'm still pretending to be somebody I'm not. I can't do that if I'm showing up in a way that doesn't feel natural, that doesn't feel easy, that doesn't feel like how I need to be showing up in the world. And that's the difference. When I was trying to show up in a way that wasn't authentic, wasn't natural, wasn't easy, it felt like work. It felt like hard work. It felt like draining work that just drove me insane and would send me to tears. Can't tell you how many times that happened. And, you know, it's a sign that it wasn't the right way to be doing things. I took a step back for a couple months. I reassessed, I reevaluated, I spent more time with myself and grounding myself, and found out that, you know, for me to show up authentically, I can absolutely do that, but it doesn't start when I turn on the camera. It starts when I wake up in the morning and, you know, think of the things that I'm grateful for. It starts when I go to the lake and I swim and I breathe and I clear my mind distraction free by myself and enjoy the peace and open myself up to the environment. It starts when I sit and meditate and breathe. It starts when 30 seconds before I hit the record button every time, I ground myself. I connect to Mother Earth or Gaia. I connect to the mycelium network, because, you know, that is where I hold a lot of strength and connection as part of my spiritual and psychic gifts. I connect to my higher self. I align my heart, my higher heart, my throat chakras, and I try to show up in a way that both helps me to grow as a person, but more importantly, can make an impact in at least the lives of one or two people. You know what I mean? That when I see those messages or those comments, or I have people tell me like, hey, this really helped, that is the reason I'm doing it, right? The other things, the benefits, the starting a business, the manifesting, those are amazing benefits, but it's not my main goal. My main goal is being myself and helping those around me. And everything that falls into place around that, you know, that is extra glitter and sparkles. But, you know, if you can take anything from this, I want it to be the courage to not be afraid, to not be terrified to start, to not be afraid of effort and work and putting an energy into something you love. Because if you're a painter or an artist, you might sit there for, you know, 5, 8, 10 hours working on this piece that you absolutely love. Not because it's for other people, but because it's a passion of yours. And that's how I want you to approach life. That's how I want you to approach the business, or the idea of potentially having a business or earning income or whatever it is that you're afraid is too much work. Approach it from an angle of, okay, how can I enjoy this more? How can I find happiness and love and like just pleasure in the process? And even if it's not 100% of the process, because that is at the end of the day sometimes a little bit impossible, even if you can find enjoyment in 80% of the process and leave the last 10-20% to the things you don't enjoy as much, right? For me, that meant not editing my videos, which is a little anxiety inducing still, because sometimes I don't even remember what I say, and I'm just, honestly, I'm out here being weird AF, and, you know, making random noises. But that's me, that's my authentic self. And when I stopped trying to force myself to take all that out of my content, to take my personality out of things, at least to a degree, it got easier, it felt more natural. And it took the time to create a video and upload it. It cut it in more than half, because on a 15-minute video, I'd sit there and edit for an hour and then focus on getting the perfect caption, the perfect title, and the perfect image, and all these things. And I've had more success when I let go of all that and focused on just the creating and the posting. And, you know, it's not for everybody, but, you know, the people who will find you, who are meant to find you, will find you when you stop pretending to be something you're not. So that's my piece of advice for today. And, you know, go out there and try and find a way to increase your joy in that thing you want to do, even if you're too scared to have started. See if you can figure out a way to increase your joy, even just 5%, 10%. You know, for me, life is about finding happiness. It's about finding peace. It's about finding joy. And you gotta start somewhere. Thank you. I hope you have an amazing day. I appreciate you. I am grateful that you exist. I'm grateful that you are here. And if this resonated, if this is the kind of advice and content that aligns with you and where you want to be going, that you like seeing, I would love if you could hit all the buttons and follow along, share in the comments, because, you know, somebody new and somebody who likes to help people, I am here to do that. So if there is a sticky spot here that you're really struggling with, let me know and we'll work through it together. Have an amazing day.